I set the green bean casserole on the kitchen counter, the foil still warm against my palms, and slowly untied my apron. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. I'd only walked 3 blocks through the sharp November air. They were shaking because I had finally heard the truth. Not hinted, not implied. Said plainly, out loud, without apology. Why don't you eat in the kitchen, Mom? Laura and I need the dining room for our actual guests. My son Mark said it the way someone asks you to move your coat. Casual. Thoughtless. Like he wasn't speaking to the woman who raised him. Like I wasn't his mother. Like I hadn't spent 6 weeks planning this Thanksgiving. Every dish, every detail, because he'd asked me to help make it special. This was his new house. The one I'd quietly helped him buy when the down payment came up short. We don't talk about that anymore. I nodded, smiled, picked up my purse from the hook near the door. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I simply walked out. I left behind the casserole made from my mother's handwritten recipe, the pumpkin pies cooling on a marble island, and 23 years of convincing myself that my son's coldness was just independence in a different shape. The walk home felt nothing like 3 blocks. It felt like miles. My name is Margaret. Most people call me Maggie. I'm 67 years old, a retired librarian, a widow of 4 years, a mother of 2, and until that Thanksgiving evening, I thought I knew exactly who I was. I was the dependable one, the helper, the woman who showed up early and stayed late. I believed love meant being useful. That belief didn't shatter all at once. It cracked slowly. It started with small things, paper cuts disguised as manners. Laura, my daughter-in-law, stopped calling me Mom about 6 months after the wedding. She switched to Margaret, polite, distant, precise. When I mentioned it to Mark, he shrugged. She already has a mother. Fair enough, I told myself. Don't be sensitive. Then came the requests. Can you watch the kids Saturday? Could you pick up groceries? Can you help clean before our friends come over? Each time, I said yes. Because that's what grandmothers do. We help. We support. We make life easier for our children. I didn't notice when, could you, turned into, you'll need to. I didn't notice when asking became expecting. I didn't notice when I stopped being family and started being convenient. But I noticed Thanksgiving. Laura texted me that morning, be here at 2. Kids need watching while we prep. Not please. Not if you're free. Just instructions. When I arrived, the house was chaos. Toys everywhere. 7-year-old Lily and 5-year-old Noah racing through the living room. Laura stood in the kitchen. Phone pressed to her ear, coordinating with the caterer. Oh good, you're here, she said, barely looking at me. Can you keep the kids in the playroom? They're driving me insane. And Mark said, you're bringing that green bean thing. Just put it somewhere. That green bean thing. My mother's recipe. The dish I'd made every Thanksgiving since Mark was born. I swallowed the sting and smiled at the kids. Want to play a game with Grandma? Lily hesitated, glancing at her mother. Mom said we have to stay in the playroom when the important people get here. The important people? I asked. Yeah, Noah said. Mom's friends and Dad's boss. We're not allowed in the dining room. Neither am I realized. I spent 4 hours on the floor of that playroom, reading stories, settling arguments, playing Candyland until my knees ached, while laughter floated in from the dining room. Glasses clinked. Music played. Life happened without me. Every so often, Mark appeared in the doorway, never meeting my eyes. Dinner's almost ready. You okay in here? I didn't know the answer anymore. At 6:30, Laura stood in the doorway wearing a deep burgundy dress. Her hair was perfect. She looked at me, my sweater, my sensible shoes, and something flickered across her face. The kids can eat in here, she said. I'll bring plates. I stood slowly. And me. She blinked. Well, you're watching them. You can eat with them. We have 8 in the dining room, and honestly, Margaret, you'll be more comfortable here. Then Mark stepped in behind her. Don't be dramatic, Mom. It's just dinner. Stay in the kitchen with the kids. That was it. The sentence that changed everything. And something inside me, quiet, patient, exhausted, finally stood up. I'm going home, I said. And this time, I meant it. I didn't cry on the walk home. That was the strangest part. I kept waiting for it. The tears, the tight chest, the collapse. But nothing came. Just a heavy numbness that settled in my bones, like something inside me had quietly shut down. My house was dark when I unlocked the door. Silent. Familiar. The same small ranch I'd lived in for more than 3 decades. After my husband, Thomas died 4 years ago. Everyone said it was too much house for one woman, too quiet, too empty. Mark had been especially persistent. Mom, you should sell. Move closer to us. So we can keep an eye on you. Now I understood what that really meant. Closer meant available. Closer meant useful. Closer meant easier to manage. That night, I made myself a turkey sandwich using deli meat and sat alone at the kitchen table. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked loudly. An old wedding gift from Thomas's mother that I'd never had the heart to replace. I stared at the corkboard above the counter. Recipes pinned in neat rows. A photo of my kids from years ago, back when Mark still smiled without effort, back when he still hugged me without checking the time. My phone buzzed. Mom, you're being ridiculous. Come back. It's Thanksgiving. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I turned my phone off. The next morning, my daughter called. Mom. Claire's voice sounded cautious, like she was afraid of what she might hear. Claire lived in Seattle now, a world away from our small Indiana town. She'd moved for graduate school years ago and never came back. We talked regularly, but carefully. Our conversations were polite, surface, level, safe. Mark said you walked out of dinner, she said. Are you okay? I'm fine. I replied automatically. There was a pause. Then she said something that knocked the air out of me. Good. What? I said, sinking onto the couch. I said good. I'm glad you left. You knew. My voice wavered. You knew how they were treating me. Claire exhaled slowly. Mom, I've been watching it happen for 2 years. Every visit. The way Laura talks to you like you're hired help. The way Mark never corrects her. I tried to tell you, I remembered, last Christmas. She'd pulled me aside in the hallway and whispered, you don't have to accept this. I'd brushed her off. Told her she was overreacting. Told her Mark was stressed. I wasn't ready to hear it, I said quietly. Are you ready now? I looked around my living room, my furniture, my memories, my space. Yes, I said. I think I am. Then come to Seattle for Christmas, she said quickly. Stay with me. No expectations, no babysitting, no pretending. The invitation terrified me, because accepting it meant admitting I'd spent years shrinking myself for someone who barely noticed. I'd like that, I finally said. Seattle in December felt like another planet, soft rain instead of snow. Gray skies that made everything feel gentle and muted. Claire's apartment was small, cluttered with books and plants and mismatched furniture. But it felt alive, and most importantly, she didn't need me. She didn't hand me a list of chores. She didn't expect meals or favors. She just wanted my company. We walked through markets, watched ferries slide across the water, baked cookies that came out uneven and imperfect. I should have come sooner. I admitted one evening. You were busy taking care of Mark, she said, not unkindly. He needed me after his father died. He needed you then, she replied. He doesn't now. The words stayed with me. The week before Christmas, Mark called. I almost didn't answer. This has gone far enough, he said immediately. When are you coming home? I am home, I replied. You know what I mean. No, I said calmly. I don't think I do. There was a long silence. Then, Laura feels terrible. Does she? She didn't mean it like that. How did she mean it, Mark? He had no answer. I've been thinking. I continued. I feel like I'm always trying to earn my place with you. That's not love. You're my mother, he said sharply. And I'm not your servant. His voice changed. Hardened.
So what? You're cutting us off?
The kids. The threat was clear. Emma and Noah, leverage. If you want them to see me, I said, surprising myself with how steady I sounded, you bring them to my house, where I'm treated like family. That's insane. No, I said. What's insane is pretending this was ever okay. I hung up shaking, but lighter. Christmas passed quietly, peacefully. For the first time in years, I wasn't exhausted by the end of it, and I realized something important. I wasn't running away. I was finally choosing myself. Seattle in December had a quiet magic I hadn't felt in years. The soft rain blurred the streets, turning lights into gentle pools of color, and for the first time in decades, I felt untethered from expectation. I wasn't waiting to be useful. I wasn't waiting to be needed. I was simply present. Claire's apartment was small, but cozy, cluttered with books, plants, and the smell of coffee she brewed constantly. I watched her move around the kitchen, making tea, humming to herself, and realized I hadn't seen her like this in years. Completely herself, with no one managing her, no one telling her what to do. That evening, we baked cookies. They were lopsided, a little burnt at the edges, and we laughed so hard flour dusted the counters and our sweaters. I hadn't laughed like that in years. Not really. I should have visited more, I said, brushing crumbs off the counter. You were busy taking care of Mark, she said gently, pouring milk into mugs. He needed me after his father died, I said, and for the first time, I admitted it aloud the years I had devoted entirely to him, the life I'd built around another family's needs. He needed you then, Claire said. But he doesn't need you like that anymore. You've been disappearing into him, Mom. I watched it happen every time I visited, and it was killing you. Her words hit me harder than any cold remark from Mark or Laura ever had. I hadn't seen it, I hadn't realized. And now, seeing it from the outside, it was like being shown a mirror I couldn't look away from. I thought of Thanksgiving, the green bean casserole sitting untouched, the pumpkin pies cooling on the counter, the kids playing in the corner, while Mark and Laura dined with their important guests. And I realized I'd been slowly erasing myself for years, thinking it was love, thinking it was duty. But that night, lying on the air mattress Claire had set up in her office, I finally understood love wasn't disappearing. Love made room for yourself too. The week before Christmas, Mark called. I hesitated before answering. This is ridiculous, he said immediately. When are you coming home? I am home, I replied. You know what I mean. Back to Indiana. We need to talk about this. About what? I asked. About how you walked out of dinner, and the way you've been treating our family like I don't know, staff, he said, frustration rising in his voice. Mark, I said slowly, I feel like I'm always trying to earn my place, trying to be useful enough to matter. That's not love. That's not family. He didn't respond for a long moment. You're my mother, he said finally, as if saying it would explain everything. And I'm not your servant. I replied firmly, and I'm done pretending this was okay. So what? You're cutting me off? Stopping visits with the kids? His voice sharpened, threatening. The power of grandchildren, his most effective tool. If you want Emma and Noah to have a relationship with me, I said, you bring them here, to my house, where I am treated like family. Those are my terms. That's insane, he said. No, I said, feeling a weight lift off my chest. What's insane is pretending that spending decades erasing yourself for people who don't respect you is normal. I hung up before he could respond, and for the first time in years, I felt lighter, free, alive. Christmas in Seattle was quiet but perfect. Claire and I made cinnamon rolls from scratch, again imperfect, again delicious, and we watched old movies. We talked about everything I had been too afraid to talk about before: regrets, losses, joys, hopes for the future. Her life, her girlfriend Sarah, her work, her friends. The little details I had missed because I was too focused on making Mark's world easier. Watching Claire live fully reminded me that I could do the same, that I didn't need permission to take up space, that I didn't need to earn the right to exist in the lives of the people I loved. After Christmas, I returned to Indiana. My house felt different somehow, lighter, not empty. It was mine. I began going through my things: old photos, Thomas's clothes, the china I had never used, toys and baby clothes for grandchildren who rarely visited. I sold what I didn't need, renovated the kitchen, updated the bathroom, made the house entirely my own. February brought an unexpected letter. 6 handwritten pages from Laura. An apology. Not the shallow, "I'm sorry you felt that way" type. A real apology. She explained her insecurities, the pressures she had felt, how she had allowed me to become a caretaker rather than a family member. Her words were honest, painful, and the first real communication we had ever had. I wrote back, telling her how I had enabled the dynamic, how I had lost myself to being useful instead of being me. Our letters continued. Phone calls started. Awkward at first, but gradually more natural. She even suggested family therapy, which I agreed to. Mark was slower. Pride, stubbornness, maybe embarrassment. But eventually, in March, he called. Emma asked when you're coming back, he said, skipping pleasantries. I'm home, I said calmly. But she's welcome to visit me. On my terms. He hesitated, then admitted something I didn't expect. I don't know how to have a mother who isn't always there. Who doesn't wait to serve me. I laughed softly, almost in disbelief. You'll learn, I said. You both will. That spring, I realized I had stopped shrinking myself. I had stopped waiting for permission to exist fully. And in that newfound space, I felt alive again. Spring arrived, and with it, a sense of renewal I hadn't felt in decades. I watched the garden outside my Indiana home come alive, buds unfurling, tulips stretching toward the sun, and I felt a quiet reflection of my own life, slowly, finally blooming again. My house was lighter now, every corner arranged the way I liked it, filled with the things that mattered to me. No schedules, no demands, no invisible chores I was supposed to perform just to prove my worth. David, Laura, Emma, and Noah came for Easter. It was the first time they entered my home under my rules. They stayed at a nearby hotel, meals were at scheduled times, and I cooked only what I wanted to cook. Pizza one night, roasted vegetables another. The kids didn't care. It was enough that Grandma was present. I watched Emma curl up in my lap, whispering, "Grandma, I missed you. Why don't you come to our house anymore?" My chest tightened, but not with fear, with understanding. "Because Grandma has her own life now," I said gently, brushing her hair back. "But you can always visit me. Can we make cookies?" she asked eagerly. "Absolutely," I said, laughing. That moment, simple, pure, unconditional, reminded me of the joy that had been missing. Later, David and Laura returned for a quiet dinner at my house after the kids were asleep. We sat in my living room, the sage, green walls I had painted, the comfortable couch I had chosen for myself. For the first time, they weren't dictating the space, the time, or the expectations. "This place looks different," David said hesitantly. "I'm different," I replied. He nodded, but the pause lingered. Then he said quietly, "I talked to my therapist about what happened at Thanksgiving." I waited. She said, "I treated you like you weren't a real person. Just the mom role." David looked down at his hands. "I didn't even notice I was doing it," he admitted. "I know," I said softly. "I didn't notice either. But that doesn't mean it's too late to change." He leaned back, exhaling deeply. "I'm really sorry, Mom. I know it's not enough to fix everything, but I want to try." I smiled. For the first time, I felt that the old tension, the invisible weight I had carried for years, was beginning to lift. A few weeks later, I made another bold decision. I called my lawyer and updated my will. Everything, the house, my savings, all my possessions, was divided equally between David and Claire. But there was a condition. David's portion went into a trust that he could only access after completing a year of family therapy. Claire's portion was hers immediately, with no strings attached. I explained to my lawyer calmly, "It's not about punishment. It's about making sure he does the work. Really does it." And I meant it. May came and I returned to Seattle for 2 weeks. Claire had set up the air mattress again, but I slept better than I had in years. We hiked, explored the San Juan Islands, met her friends, and for the first time, I experienced life without obligation to anyone but myself. Sarah, Claire's girlfriend, invited me to dinner one night. She was warm, funny, and the way she made Claire laugh reminded me how much of my daughter's life I had missed while focusing on Mark. "Mum, you seem happy," Claire said one evening as we watched the sun set over Elliott Bay. "I am," I admitted, surprised at the truth. "Really happy." "And you deserve it," she said. "It wasn't perfect. David and I still had difficult conversations. Laura and I were still finding the balance between being family and being helpers. But I had learned a lesson that Thanksgiving and Christmas had already started teaching me: love doesn't require erasing yourself. Love allows each person to exist fully, equally, without expectations of servitude or guilt. That Thanksgiving, I stayed home. I made a small turkey breast, green bean casserole, and a pumpkin pie, just enough for Claire and me. We ate at my little kitchen table. Simple, quiet, perfect. David sent a text, "We're sorry you're not here." I replied, "I'm sorry you're not here either." "You're always welcome." He didn't respond, and that was okay. I wasn't waiting anymore. By January, David called again. "Mom, I scheduled the first therapy appointment for all of us, me, Laura, and the kids."
Will you come? "Yes,"
I said. "Thank you. And Mom, I'm sorry it took me so long to see you. Really see you." "I know," I said. "And I'm sorry it took me so long to demand to be seen." It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Relationships needed work. Boundaries needed maintenance. But for the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Not just Mom, not just Grandma, not just the woman who made green bean casserole, just Margaret, Maggie, me. And that was enough. For the first time, I had chosen me, and in choosing myself, I had rediscovered love. Not the love that demanded erasure, but the love that allowed presence, joy, and life to flourish in its own right.